I don't know if you're going to be so complimentary after you see. I have photos of Jeff in this presentation, so I didn't know you were going to be so nice to me. Thanks, Greg. I was with Greg at the Web Summit in Lisbon, and Greg, I can tell you some things you should stop doing. Stop buying those crazy hats. Greg bought us all crazy hats. We all wore them around that night. And that's why I think Trump won the election. I think it's something bad thing happened. I couldn't figure it out. And that was the night. So, yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about innovation. This is a talk I haven't given before. So, it's new. And I'm a little nervous, actually. But it's got a little bit of history in it. So when people think about innovation, they always, what is innovation? Usually think about some whiz-bang thing or some crazy kind of idea. The actual definition is, when you create something that somebody's willing to pay for, something that'll be of value. That's, so there it is, the process of translating an idea or invention into a good service that someone will pay for. So that's what innovation is supposed to be. And I think that it happens a lot. There's different types, there's different times, there's different ways. And a lot of, if you read Malcolm Gladwell's The Tipping Point, he'll say that, a lot of it's to do if you're in the right place at the right time. I think there's some of that too. But I also think that you can learn innovation, and if you apply some principles consistently and some guidelines, that you can get there with hard work. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And so I was going to take you through, embarrassingly, a little bit of that personal history of innovation, but apparently Jeff already told everybody about all of it. But so this is in, plus you're going to know how old I am. So in university still, this was, I call this a sales model innovation. We found these long shorts. They were, and the brand was called Son of a Beach. They're manufactured in Moose Jaw. And we set up a store, and it started by we sold to university groups, so like student groups. And then we actually went and started to sell to softball teams and soccer teams, and there was not much soccer back then, so it was softball teams mostly, and a lot of folks bought them. And in university, my degree is in physics, and so it's pretty boring. And well, not really. It depends. But selling stuff was cool because we made in one of my my second to last year university like 90 grand. So I thought that's pretty cool because this is like 88, and some of you were born, and so it was. So then we went and opened a store in a strip mall in Bedford Park Square, and then moved to the Wildwood Mall. But this was long before they joined those malls to form Circle Park Mall, and I lost all that money. So don't, all of it. So the second type of innovation, I was actually working, who did the cutout? Thanks, Brian. You're supposed to see it from far away. And I was actually working for SMDC before they joined with Eldorado, to form Cameco at Rabbit Lake mine site, which they just closed up in Rabbit Lake, Eagle Point. And I got a call from one of my buddies. We'd been talking about this crazy idea because in the GEM lab, which is the geophysics lab in university, they were using these laser printers, but they wouldn't let us use too much because it was like 25 cents a copy. And again, this is back in the day, that was a lot of money. It was like $1 now. So, and so we said, hey, we could recycle these things. We could take them apart. And so we tried, and we found out we could get toner, and we could refill them. And, we did up a business plan and said, if we can just get half the universities, we could be rich. So we actually applied to the government. We got this grant called Technology Inflow Program. And we went away to learn how to actually do these in real life, and went down to Lexington, Kentucky, came back, started a business in '89, because I figured at that time, I have a degree in geophysics. I could, go out there and start my job, but I have no real responsibilities right now. Let's do this thing. So we learned how to do this. We tried to build these toner cartridges. We did recycle these things. We'd sell them all day long, and then on the weekend we'd get in this little room, and we'd have to have the old one used to develop photos, because the photosensitive drum in there can't take real light or it'll wreck it. So we'd recycle these things and sell them, and it was okay, and we started to make some money. And so that was really our first type of innovation. But then the second type of innovation, we moved to a bigger building, so I call it building innovation. You guys might know this store. It's across from the Brick. It's up on Circle Drive. It's we bought this building from an old farmer guy, and he helped us out to buy it, and we had to do all the renovations ourselves. The doors there used to be 3 buildings in there. They were bays for one was a oil change place in the back. Another one was a shoe repair. Glenn Bowie, you worked there with. So we ripped out the doors in the front. We put a door in the side, and then a week before we opened up, they inspected it and they said, "Oh, you can't have all this plumbing underneath the cement." And we said, "What? We're just going to walk on it." Nope, can't be there. So we had to jackhammer it apart and dig it up. So that's just a story. But what we really did with Delron computers, it later turned into CompuSmart, was we had 2 kinds of innovation. The first was product innovation. You might recall back in 80, 90, 91, 92, that computers, there was only a couple kinds. There was like a IBM PC and a Compaq, and maybe there was some HPs just starting to come by 93. And they were real expensive, and everybody wanted a computer. So we mostly would have families coming into our store to buy a computer for their kids who were going to either, high school or off to college. And but they had only a couple choices. They could buy a real expensive computer for $5 to $10 grand, or we could have one for about $3 grand that would get them a color monitor and a printer, 9-pin dot matrix. And what we would do, it's a true story. And so what we would do is we would explain to them by writing up on the board what a computer was and how it worked, how a hard drive worked, how the CPU worked. And we would explain that there was really no difference between what we were building and what they could buy for twice the price. And so we didn't have a big room. We'd do these things on a board, and there'd be one family. And by the time we were done, there'd be 5 families. Then we'd pass out the order forms, and we'd take 5 orders. And we went to selling, $14 million worth of computers a year in 1994. And so that was the sales innovation. Now the product innovation, was with the computers, because I don't know, you probably won't recall, but if you get one of those computers home and you turn it on, you know what you got? You get the C prompt, flashing. So there's animation at least. So so what we did is we put on I can't remember the numbers, 1,275 different things in a menu, a shareware menu, and we preloaded them. And we put them on this thing so they could go recipes, word processors, spreadsheets. It was great. In fact, up until even like 5 years ago, so I saw, can I still get that? Somebody got me aside at a movie theater, and I'm like, I don't do that anymore. But, and I don't even think you can get DOS. But anyway, so then Windows came. But that was product innovation. And then from 96 to 99, I largely watched innovation. I was too busy trying to run a retail operation, which sucks. Do not go into retail. If I can give you any advice, don't do it. And so we, running that operation, I was seeing the .com boom coming hard. So you guys might remember that in 2001 that crashed. But in 1999, I said, geez, I got to get out of this. And I ended up, so you can see we turned it into CompuSmart, and it's bigger. It's got more stuff. MP3 drive in the middle there. I sold that store to my business partner at the time and went to work at a company called Point 2. And then at Point 2, we had a different kind of innovation. So Point 2 was, there's me. So I look the same. So Point 2 was a different kind of company. So Point 2 was a software company. We built software for Caterpillar, catuse.com. So we powered Caterpillar's used global trading system. And that's in about 2001, we thought, hey, real estate's a lot like heavy equipment. Only, I know that sounds funny, but only insofar as the internet's good for finding that stuff. So you want a $1 million D10 11R dozer, you will look online and you will move it halfway around the globe because you find the right one. With a home, you don't move those, but you will move yourself wherever that home is. And the internet's great for finding those complex capital assets. So we did a little thing. The first innovation was we did a prototype, John Fothergill and I, where we put in instead of track type tractor, we put in neighborhood, and we cobbled it together on the front end, changed the presentation layer and did a demo and Said, okay, let's do this thing. Got some really good buy-in. And then we ended up building a thing called Agent Handshake. This was the real disruptive innovation. You know, Zillow and Trulia, I guess you guys they're not in Canada, but you know, when you want to sell a house today, you have to find a realtor, and they charge you 3.5% on the buy side and 3.5% on the sell side. It's a 7% deal. They don't really do a lot. Any realtors? Is there any realtors in the room? Because I don't want to get in trouble. They're all my friends. But they, I mean, some of them work really hard, and some work less hard. But if you, when you get backtracking, so when you get it into the MLS, generally that's what you're paying for, and you don't, and so people have been trying to disrupt that business model, but they have a really strong lobby. So we came in and we said we'll give. Because brokers actually own that listing data. Even though it's your house, they own it. They're the ones who control it. And all the other agents want it because they want to use it to attract customers, because then they can sell them something else. So that's why they want that listing data. And so we built this thing called Agent Handshake so that a broker could control that, and they could choose who they shared their data with. And it let them free from the MLSs, who were really, really trying to control them and had all these crazy rules and didn't have all this data. And we said, we'll just be the marketing part. The MLS can still be the money part. And it really caused quite a stir. It was super disruptive. In fact, I got summons to the Department of Justice in Chicago, not in a bad way, because we weren't doing anything illegal at all, but there was a huge uproar, not just from us, but from these entrants of Zillow and Trulia into the system, and they all wanted access to these marketing assets, and so there was a summons. And the part that I found really cool was, this just let them control those assets, but this is someone writing an opinion from someone, a legal counsel, that says, in my opinion, these straight-shooting folks in the prairies have this just right. They've produced an adjunct to the MLS, a tool that both enhances experience and stills many of the DOJ's concerns. So it was super disruptive. I mean, anytime you get in a lawsuit, it's disruptive. But never did actually have to testify, so it was good. This is age innovation. See, I look the same, but Jeff does not. Jeff looks much better today. I'm going to leave that up there for a while. Just let that say. See, Jeff, you look much better today. Yeah. And we were just we're just buddies. Yeah. And then in 2007 to 2016, this is Vendasta. So we've had a ton of innovation. Some great, some not so great. We've tried things like the Groupon software, that didn't work out. We've tried lots of things that have worked out really, really well. And some of that has been because we're in the right place at the right time. We made a bet some years ago when we first started, so in about 2010-ish, that the internet was changing things. The way people shop was changing things. This is whole zero moment of truth. You guys are tired of hearing about it, but the idea is that when you buy something today, if you hear an ad on the radio or see it in the paper or on TV for winter tires, what do? You don't go to that place or phone them. You go to your phone or your computer and you search for winter tires. And if you don't find that place, that guy just spent money promoting whosever place they found. So we made that bet, and we said, so that used to be called, you spend some money on advertising, when the till rings, that's the moment of truth. Now there's this idea of the zero moment of truth. So who do you find? Do they have a good reputation? I make a decision before I ever go there. Well, even if it's a restaurant or if it's a car, I make a decision to buy before I go there. That's the zero moment of truth. I go in, I have the in-store experience, I buy the thing, and afterwards I talk about it. That's the second moment of truth. So we said we're going to bet on those. So we bet on social media management, reputation management, and listings. Local listings are the best thing you can do to be found on Google. So those things have grown dramatically. So if you look here, those numbers are the total spend in billions of dollars in the U.S., in the growth in 1 year is tremendous. So we made that bet some years ago. We've been fortunate to ride on that. So that's a fantastic bet. So right time, right place. It's good innovation. But I think that you can really have innovation based on a set of principles, some hard-earned principles. And we have these guiding principles. They're up back here too. You'll see them around. They're in most of our boardrooms. And so these ones are the non-specific ones. We have some specific ones for our business model, like we're a white label company, so we have a white label. We have a do-it-for-me interface and a diffm interface. But I took those out and looked at what are the guiding principles we can have, and I worked with Dale and other people, and over time, we've put these together to build out this set of principles. I'll go through it quick. So guiding principle number 1, Be a platform. Everybody says that. What the heck's a platform? It's really easy. You know, you want to make sure that when you build software, that you can keep selling it each month. Because it sucks to build it one time for somebody, and then somebody else comes and you build it again, and you eat what you kill. So you want to build your software and keep selling it over and over and over. That's software as a service, and it's recurring revenue. Number 2, you want to be the system of engagement. It'd be okay to be the system of record. So if you can be Salesforce, that means you got all the data. Everyone's got to use you. It's hard to get away from. If you're Outlook or if you're the accounting system, you're the system of record. Those are tough to be. Love to be those two. But what more people are going for is to be the system of engagement. That's like, has anybody used Slack? If you use Slack in your organization, like we do, and that's the system of engagement. That's the thing you use, the software you use. So if you're going to build some software, make sure it's the software they use. 2, for a platform, is to leverage other vendors' efforts. So you want to leverage all the efforts of the ecosystem. So you're the people they use, and you get the benefit of all the work that everyone else does. That's why you want to be a platform. The second principle is be disruptive. Now, disruptive is not, like I said, some whiz-bang thing. I categorize disruptive as easy to use, accessible, and affordable, and then immediately of value. So if you meet those criteria, you're kind of disruptive. I got a crazy chart up here, but I'll give you a couple examples. When the transistor radio first came out, people said it won't work. These tube things are so good. Everyone's going to keep these tube things. The sound quality is so much better. Nobody's going to want to listen to the radio on this transistor thing. It's not good enough. So the kids started to use it because it was cheap, it was easy, it was affordable, it's all they could afford, and they got better and better. And pretty soon, they met the need of the performance minimum, and now you don't have tube radios much anymore unless you're a technophile. And so the same thing happened with steel mills. Dale always laughs at me about this joke because he goes, nobody knows about the steel mills. Nobody does. 20 years ago, there was integrated steel mills that made rolled steel for everything. And they're great, and the steel was good. Then these mini steel mills came along and said, we'll take this old metal, and we'll be able to recycle it, and we'll be able to make stuff. And they were just electric, small, easy to portable. And those things, those furnaces, all they could make was rebar. So the big guys said, we don't care about rebar. Then pretty soon, they could make structural beams, and then pretty soon they could make rolled steel. There's not one integrated steel mill left in North America now. That's disruptive technology. Guiding principles. Number 3. So this is really important. You have to have a key business or a technical advantage. So this is so you can be best in the world. Like, so we make a sales and marketing automation platform as part of our platform. And people say, well, what the heck? Why would you do that? There's Pardot, there's Marketo, there's all of these great Infusionsoft and HubSpot. There's all these great systems. Our key technical advantage is we use data about the local business to market to that business. So those platforms, the marketing departments try to make up stuff and send it to the business and see if they'll engage it. It's called spam. What we do, sorry, marketing department. Ours is pretty helpful. They make good stuff. But you can make good stuff, and people do make good stuff. It's just that you can't get the number of leads that you need to feed your sales team. So what we do is we use information about the local business. We send it out to the local businesses. It's all about them, so they read it and engage it, get super high click-through and engagement rates. As they engage that data, we find out what they're interested in, and then we tell the salesperson, hey, this guy needs listings, or this guy needs search engine marketing, or this guy needs a website, and that's what he's interested in, and they have a great conversation. So always have some key business or technical advantage. Ask yourself what yours is when you're building something. Fall in love with your customers' problems and not your solutions. This is a tough one because you start to solve what you think is the problem and you get that thing in you and you're so stubborn. Everybody does this and this is the solution. This has to be the solution. I'm going to keep working this solution until it works. It's not the case. You need to re-examine what is the real problem your customer has. And the hard part is your customer doesn't know his real problem half the time. They really don't. So if you ask a customer and they say, I'm not satisfied, I don't like it, 100% of the time they're right. They don't like it. If you ask them, if they tell you, here's what I want you to do, here's the solution, 99% of the time they're wrong. So it's a real conundrum. So you have to really find out what you have to solve a real world problem. That's what we're trying to say here. I have a question for you all now in between the next guiding principle. So If I said, I can give you a 99% chance of making $1 million in the next 5 years, or I can give you a 1% chance of making $1 billion, which one would you pick? Who's for the million? It's lots of millions. I mean, sometimes I want to be that. Who's for the billion? It's math. So if you work out the math, it's a much better bet to take the 1%. Now this assumes you can eat, but it's a if you so you have to get this in the right context. Like if you have nothing and someone says 99, I'll take that one too. But if you have a good business and you're going to make some bets, make the 1% bet. Think big. Think 10x. Don't think 10%. Oftentimes, it's easier to solve the problem a different way. So those incremental things, I'm going to make this thing I have, this function, this feature, this product, I'll make it 10% better. You can put lots of work in there, tons of effort. Many times, if you stood back and said, hey, how could we have done this differently to solve that problem? Or what could we have done to solve the problem 10 times more effectively? It's just as much effort to do that. So I would encourage you all to think 10% or 10x. Next one that we like is that it's got to be as simple as possible, but not simpler. And I like to say that we build for the 5% power user. I've often found, people say, oh, just make it easy. Just make it easy. You hear that a lot about software. Yeah, it has to. You should make it as easy as possible, but not easier so that you can't solve the problems. This is why Jira is killing it. But who likes to use Jira? Almost nobody. Is there anybody here like to use Jira? Jesse Webb, I knew it. That's because he gets it. No, I'm just it does everything. It solves the problem, but Jira's killing it. And I'm not saying you have to be Jira, but I'm saying you got to solve the problems. And if it has to be hard, there's hard things that got to be solved. That's the hard thing about hard things. And then the second one is guiding principles. So Salesforce says Salesforce uses Salesforce to build Salesforce. You got to use it internally, and I say to the point of fanaticism. So we replaced Salesforce with our sales and marketing automation problem because sales success tool because we said, how are we going to sell this to somebody else but use something different? We can't, and so it was really hard. So this takes a lot of effort, and always, there's always trade-offs. Well, this thing's already ready. We can just use this thing, and yes, you can, and I think sometimes you should. It's a value decision, but if it's your core functionality. If it's the thing that you have a key technical or business advantage on, no, you can't make that compromise. You have to use your own stuff. Guiding principles. So another one, great workflow equal action plus insight. What the heck does that mean? Well, Google Analytics has been around for a long time. And whenever I ask a small business if they use it, they say, oh yeah, that's great. That's for my website. It tells me all this. When's the last time I looked at it, 2 months. I should really look at that some more. That's because there's nothing they can do there. They have to go get a webmaster to do something. And oftentimes when we're building a product, you got to put the insight where the action is. So if you're asking a user to do something, you can't make them go to 2 different screens, try to figure something out and come back. It's just too hard. Don't make anyone think that hard. Give them the insights right there so they can make whatever the action button is on that screen, give them everything they need to do to press that button or do what they have to do. So this one I've learned over and over and over. This is why I'm a slow learner on this one. Refactor incrementally and continuously while delivering value. Do not ever say, we're just going to rebuild this. This is exactly what happens in there. You will build it wrong again. By the time you're done, things will have changed. Dale's got a much fancier way of saying, optimize for change and all these things. But really, no, truly, you're always better to take the thing that you have and make it better than try to start over every single time that I've been involved with. So, and lastly, speed is a necessary feature. If it's not fast, people just won't use it. They just won't. They won't use it at all. So that's it. So I think speed's a necessary feature. So I hope, these are the guiding principles. I think you can achieve innovation with some persistence and learning. So I hope that, thank you for that. I hope you took something away from it. If you didn't, buzz off. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm totally kidding.